Word to your mother, boys and girls. It is your boy Sniper West coming at you here from WizardSportsPicks.com, and it is Freaky Friday. That's right, Freaky Friday, Friday the 13th. I think this is actually the second month in a row, Wiz, that it's been Friday the 13th. I go, yeah, last month was Friday the 13th too. So, man, we got some crazy stuff going on. Let me tell you what, we got some crazy stuff going on with college basketball. We will touch on all of that in a minute, but before I do that, I would like to do some housekeeping here and invite you to come over to WizardSportsPicks.com, the number one sports consultant in the industry. Fantastic website. Wiz, let me tell you what, you have built a beautiful website over there. Love the look and the feel and the color and everything. I know it's taken a lot of hard work by you, your team, all the handicappers. It's been a group effort, right? It takes a village to create something awesome like this, and I do want to thank you for giving us this opportunity over here at the site to change the world with you, Wiz. That's what we're trying to do over here. Also, I would like to say today is Freaky Friday. We're gonna, you know what, Wiz? Why don't we just start calling this Friday thing Freaky Friday every Friday? Why not? Seems like it's Friday the 13th every month anyway. But you can get every selection from any handicapper over there. A single selection for $4.99 non-guaranteed, or $9.99 guaranteed. What that means is if the play wins, then you are good to go. If the play loses and it's guaranteed, then you get to select, another play from a different handicapper, complimentary on the house, right? I would also like to say we do have a March Madness special running. This will be available next week. We'll have all the details lined up. We're still working on it over the weekend, but you're basically going to get any handicapper, every single play through the championship game, and the packages will be less than $100. It just depends on where the handicapper wants to create his price point. More than likely, it's going to be from the $79 to $99 range. And we will have a promo code with some money off for you. We will have all that rolled out on Monday, and we will talk about that on the Monday show. All right, Wiz, a lot of housekeeping there. How you doing? I know you're looking forward to it. Man, I just looked at this college basketball slate, and it is straight fire, just like yesterday. Yesterday was very, very exciting. And, I don't know if you saw, I sent you that picture of my little home sports book with, we got the 2 TVs mounted on the wall, and I have 3 tablets right in front of me. I know you said you have quite a little setup at your place too. And the couch becomes your friend. You don't even want to get up to go get a beer or go get a sandwich. How was your day yesterday? It was just a lot of college basketball and a lot of adrenaline pumping.
Well, my wife knows every minute where I am, and that's laying down on a couch on the corner with my favorite pillow and chips and salsa. And, I do go up for air and I try to pick some spots during the day to get some oxygen. And I'm also watching horse racing as well. So I'm betting horses, I'm betting baskets, I'm middling games, I'm playing live betting. It's like when my wife says, "How you're doing?" I go, "Ask me it tomorrow morning when I check all the." I don't even know the games that I bet. Like if you ask me who did I bet, I really don't. It's so much stuff that I do. So It's really funny. It's like 12 out. You actually have a very impressive setup. I like that. I beat you on 2 iPads and 1 TV. That's it. I only have a slight edge on you, only slight. But that's because I'm like 25 years older than you. By my age, if you're still alive, you'll have more than me.
Well, especially in this business too. No kidding. It's kind of funny though. I'm in Vegas. I very well could go down to the sports book, and I do. I go down to the book a lot, but the only thing with the book, especially with March Madness, like if you go down to the book on Thursday or Friday or Saturday, you kind of have to rent a booth because you're not going to find a seat. It's just going to be pandemonium. If you get up to go get a beer, someone's going to take your seat. It's just, I don't know. I kind of like staying home, especially for NFL Sunday too. I have all the packages. I have all the screens. It's just so much easier. You have your food in the fridge. You have your beer in the fridge. It's a lot easier, but I like going down to the book too. So when you're in Vegas, you have options, I guess. Not everyone has those options if you don't live here, right? But anyway, let's get into some college basketball. Yesterday was quite a day. Let's just go ahead and start with Duke, Florida State. Obviously, Duke almost went down. They survived by the hair of their chinny chin chin. I know a lot. I did not bet the game. I didn't really have an opinion on it. There's just too many points for me. But I know a lot of handicappers that were on Duke, and they laid that chalk. And that was a big loss. They almost went. I can't believe they almost lost that game. What are your thoughts on Duke, Florida State? Wiz.
Well, Duke was coming into that game pretty injured. You know, one of their guys is out for the season. Another key cog is being rested during this tournament. Florida State was coming in red hot, a much improved team, well coached. I saw an interview in the locker room the night before after their win, and they were fired up. You know, Duke had a tough time. I mean, they're lucky they won that game. I mean, Florida State had the ball with a few seconds left, and they just missed a shot. You know, Duke just escaped, and today they're going to have they needed that. That really was a wake up call for them. But you know, they're not 100% healthy. That was not a good game they played, and you know, they play Clemson today, and I don't guess the lines because I know the lines for
Yeah,
today.
yeah.
But they're 10 and 10, 10.5 point favorites against Clemson. Um, so that'll be interesting. But yeah, Duke didn't look like not the number one overall seed yesterday. They didn't even
No,
look like a number one seed, period.
yeah, they did not. Definitely. We had BYU Houston. That was a very interesting game. Houston, they've been leaking a little bit of oil lately, Wiz. You know, BYU was up at halftime. It kind of seems like Kelvin Sampson went in the locker room and tore them a you know what at halftime. And they came out and they got the job done. Your thoughts on BYU and Houston?
Well, one thing I want to say is that, you know, the two best players in the whole country are both freshmen, and they're going to make a major impact when they're drafted in the first round. They may go 1-2 when they get to the NBA, and they're going to be great. And that's Cameron Boozer of Duke and AJ DeBonza for BYU. That
Right.
guy is special. He's just a special player. The shots he makes, his stop and go moves, his spin moves. For a freshman, he's just tremendous. You know, Houston is you know, I think the only way they get to the Final Four and you know a long shot to win, they've got to play an A++ game. They're not great in the front court. They can get exposed by more physical players. Their guard play is a bit erratic. They don't shoot well from the outside. I think they're winning these games, and they're going to only win games in the tournament because of Kelvin Sampson getting them up, being scared to face Kelvin Sampson at halftime in the locker room and his wrath after the game.
Yeah,
So, you know, that's carrying them. That coach is carrying them because this is not one of the stronger Houston Cougar teams that I have seen in recent years.
that is true. We had Providence, St. John's. St. John's, there was really no doubt in this game. They came out like shot out of a cannon. They had actually, Wiz, they had three guys with 14 points. One guy, a Heo4, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, he had 21 points. And yeah, Patino, obviously, he preached defense and he preached offense coming, right out of the gate. And they took care of Providence 85-72. And they covered too. So it was an 11.5 point spread and they won by 13. And as they say, great coaches or good coaches win, great coaches cover, right? So your thoughts on Providence and St. John's?
Well, you know, there's two guys in March you don't want to face, and that's Coach Patino and Tom Izzo. I mean, they're
Yeah.
built for the tournament. They're built for March. You know, today they play Seton Hall, that played a very physical game against Creighton and prevailed. This is a rematch from the end of the season where Seton Hall played St. John's head to head right to the last few minutes in New Jersey, and St. John's wore them down late. This game is at the Garden. You know that the Johnny's fans are going to be if there's 19,000 tickets sold, 17,000 are Johnny fans, and I know
Yeah.
Seton Hall is just right across Hudson River, but the Johnny fans come, and but I really like Shaheen Holloway. I like
Yeah. They,
how they play defense. I think it's going to be an interesting matchup. I think St. John's, if I'm not mistaken, is about 7.5, 8 point favorites. And that's about right.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be a great game.
Yeah. Well, if you remember these two teams, they played, about a week ago, and that's pretty much what I think. St. John's won by about 6 points, and they covered. I think they won by 6 or 7. And I think the spread was 5.5, so they barely covered.
Yeah,
Well,
they
what you
covered. They
spoke about the
covered.
Creighton game? Yeah. What were your thoughts about that Creighton game, the Seton Hall Creighton game, though? Because that was a pretty good game too.
Well, it was, and their physicality, the way they play defense, they go on runs. This team and their defense sets up their offense. They are very good at turning you over, getting rebounds, and then getting out quickly in transition before you can set up your defense. And that's what did Creighton in yesterday.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of college basketball here, what do you think about the Tar Heels? So, the Tar Heels and Clemson, Browning. I mentioned on the show on Wednesday, we were talking about that Clemson game that happened yesterday. I mean, Clemson, they have never won an ACC title. And, they're really gunning for it this year. I mean, it might not happen if they're facing Duke today, obviously. But they did play well yesterday. And, UNC, it's been a tough run for them. Obviously, they've had some injuries. Their star player was out as well, Wilson, I believe, right? And, yeah, UNC went down. What were your thoughts on Clemson and UNC?
Well, the tougher team won. I mean, in the end, I mean, it was obviously a last second shot. It's ironic. I don't know if you know this, but I remember it well. 30 years ago, it was the same tournament in the same city, Charlotte, North Carolina. And they had a former great Clemson player named Craig Buckner. And actually, his son, Ace Buckner, who scored 11 points yesterday on this team. Well, in that game, uh, Clemson won against North Carolina with zero point 0.6 seconds to go in the game. Greg Buckner stuffed the ball, was like this vicious stuff on the basket to win the game. And, like I said, his son is on
Right.
the team this year. This is the second straight year they've advanced to the semifinal, but they've never won the tournament. But they have, Dylan Hunter and Chase Hunter, his brother. Uh, they won the game. The game before they lost one of their main guys, Carter Welling, a 6'11" forward who tore his ACL. The fact that Clemson could play the way they did yesterday without him, that's pretty impressive. I mean, they took everything North Carolina threw at them, and just like 30 years ago, it was a last second shot. I think this came with like zero point 0.8 second. I mean, it was like
Right.
less than a second. So 30 years later, the same thing happened. It's so
Yeah.
funny that history would repeat itself during, that length of time against the same
Yeah.
team in the same
Absolutely.
city.
Well, I think yeah. Yeah. It's what they call deja vu a little bit, right? Um, I think the biggest story, obviously, yesterday was Miami, Ohio finally goes down, right? And they had been leaking a little bit of oil as of late. We had talked about that. Their last 3 games, they had only won by 2 points. I think the magnitude of everything and just, the conference tournament and everything, it was just a lot for them to handle, right? Emotionally, physically. I kind of had that feeling sooner or later they were going to lose. I have a feeling they will still get in the tournament. I know you have some thoughts about that. But UMass, Miami, Ohio, credit to UMass. They showed up. It was a high scoring game, too. I mean, over under was 161.5. It did go over. It hit 170. And, but UMass got it done. Credit to them. Miami, Ohio, fantastic season this year. They did have, they have 5 guys in double digits. So it was a team effort. Massachusetts, they played well. Batoyle, he put in 25. Banks put in 18. So they just played well. But your thoughts on Miami, Ohio, their season? Are they going to get in the tournament and the game itself?
That was my strongest and biggest play of the tournament so far. I loved UMass. I love Frank Martin, and the reason I love that game is that Miami, Ohio, they won 31 straight. Like you said, they were leaking oil. They were just getting by. They were exposed on the interior. UMass beat them to every 50-50 ball. They out physicaled them. They out rebounded them. They just punched them in the gut. And that they fell behind by 10, like with 8 minutes, 10 minutes to go in the second half. But you just knew they were fighting the whole game. And once they got up by 2 late in the game, I think they sealed the deal. That was a big point spread. That was, in my opinion, that was absurd. Just like Florida State getting, well, when I played, it was 19 and a half. But like, come on, 19 and a half points against, like, who the hell would lay 19 and a half? It went down to 17. But who in the right mind would lay that kind of wood? I mean, I know Duke is Duke, but Florida State was playing. Look at their record the last 10 games. I mean, they were playing really well. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't have even thought they can win the game, but come on, a big spread like that against an injured Duke team. I mean, anyone that laid that wood I just don't, I can't. Not that I'm going to win the bet or it's just, that's a lot of points. I mean, Florida State is hot. They've already lost to them this season. Duke is injured. I mean, that's how I saw that game. But the UMass, Frank Martin is a very physical coach, the way he coaches. I just think that Miami, Ohio was running into a beehive in that game. And there's a no-brainer they should get into the tournament. I mean, if they had shut out of the tournament, the NCAA committee it's disgraceful. They should fire them all, because look what they did, 31-0. If a high school team was 31-0, I would let them into the NCAA tournament. If my community team of 60-year-olds went 31-0, they should be in the tournament. I mean, it's not even a question. There's no question about it. They're getting it in. They're getting in.
Yeah, I agree with you. They deserve it. They played very hard all year, and I had a feeling they were going to lose in this tournament. You and I talked about it too. You said, "Can you imagine if they lose in the tournament?" And they, sure enough, they did. But anyway, so we move on to today, Wiz. Obviously, we have one of the biggest rivalries in all of sports. We have Ohio State and Michigan. That game is actually tipping, I believe, at about 35 minutes. We're recording this early on Friday morning. So I don't really have an opinion on this game. It's just too big a number, very similar to the Duke game yesterday. I'm not really interested in laying double digits, especially 12.5 here with Michigan. It had opened at 12.5, and it's still at 12.5. It has not moved. So the odds makers got the number right. They hit it right on the head. But it looks like 70% of the public is on Michigan as far as the money. 70% of the money is on Michigan. 53% of the tickets are on Michigan. A lot of the money's on the under as well, which is 155.5. I don't know if you have an opinion on this game or not. I just figured I'd bring it up just because it's such a huge rivalry.
Well, the only thing I could say is with Duke just escaping, and they were the unanimous number 1 overall seed, that leaves the door open for Michigan, Arizona, and Florida, who all play today, to fight for that number 1 overall seed. We can see the potential of Duke slipping here when the final tally comes on Sunday night, and we could see a whole shuffling of the top 4. These 4 will be the 4. It's just in what order. But now those 3 teams, Michigan, Arizona, and Florida, have a chance to be the number 1 overall seed. So they're going to be putting the pedal to the metal. All 3 of those teams. It's just a matter of the point spread. Personally, I think I don't lay big points. I don't lay double-digit points. Would I take it? I think it's a watch game for me. It is a watch game for me.
Yeah, definitely. Well, speaking of Florida and Kentucky, so Kentucky Well, first of all, Florida. So obviously they've won 11 in a row. They actually swept the season series against Kentucky this year, and Kentucky is playing their third game in 3 days. So you got to wonder if they're gassed a little bit, right? The Gators are the top seed. They're these two offenses, to be honest with you, are about a wash. But Florida by far has the superior defense here, and Florida is also a pretty good cover team this year as well. And to be honest with you, they might even be the most complete team in college basketball. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if they run it back. They go back to back. Didn't they go back to back with Billy Donovan? What was it, 15, 20 years ago? I think they did.
Yeah.
Wasn't that the
Yep.
Joakim Noah team, right?
Yep.
But yeah, I just got to wonder if Kentucky's going to lose their legs today after 3 straight days of playing basketball. What do you think about Florida and Kentucky? I like Florida, and I like the double digits, but I don't like to lay double digits either. But if I had to play this game, I'd probably lay it with Florida.
Well, one thing is it's hard to beat a team 3 times in one season. Florida played Kentucky the end of the season, and they were blowing them out. Kentucky fought back. In the end, I think Florida covered that game. I remember they did. They covered. Look, Kentucky's playing good ball. I don't think they win this game, but I wouldn't be surprised if they covered the spread. I mean, they beat Missouri yesterday pretty handily. Um, again, this is a watch game for me. I don't lay those points. Um, so, yeah, that's how I see it. But it's hard to beat a
Yeah,
team 3 times.
yeah, definitely. As it relates to Wisconsin and Illinois, so Wisconsin, they barely got past Washington yesterday. They beat them 85-82. They were actually 6.5 point chalk, so they did not cover that spread. Illinois has not played since the 8th. So they're pretty well rested. Wisconsin, they're 18-14 against the spread this year. If you remember, they did play each other. It was back on February 10th, and Wisconsin won. They're actually 9.5 point dogs, and they won in overtime. They won 92-90. That was at Illinois too. So play here again. Any thoughts on Wisconsin, Illinois?
No, I don't have an opinion on this game. I mean,
Yeah.
what is it about 4.5 or 5? What's this? I don't know what the spread is. I'm guessing about 5.
So, Illinois minus 8.5.
Oh, is it 8.5? Wow.
It's
Um,
8.5. Yeah, and
I
I'll tell
would,
you what. The public is hammering Wisconsin too. They like those 8.5 points. Sounds like
yeah.
you might too if you're thinking it's 5.
Well, Wisconsin is an erratic team. Illinois sometimes is erratic. I don't know. It's not one of the games I'm betting today.
Yeah, I gotcha. Well, Seton Hall and St. John's, I know we kind of talked about this earlier, but this is, it's at MSG. We touched on it already, but yeah, you know what? I kind of feel like Seton Hall is going to hang tough here. 19-13 against the spread on the year. Let me see. I actually had some notes on this game. Yeah, they, yeah, as we said earlier, St. John's, they covered that game 72-65. Yeah, obviously Shaheen Holloway and the Rick Pitino relationship. Rick Pitino has raved about Shaheen Holloway, saying he's just a fantastic head coach. It's one thing I like about Pitino. He likes to mentor other head coaches, and he likes to give them recognition if he feels they're a good head coach. And that's kind of the cool thing about Pitino.
And look at his
any
tree.
thoughts on this game?
Look at the Patino coaching tree. It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah,
like the Saban coaching tree. It's ridiculous. It just shows you
yeah,
what a great coach he is. Those two guys are the best ever in their sport, and all their assistants become top head coaches. I loved Seton Hall last time in Jersey. I lost the bet. I lost a big bet on them. They had the game covered until the last few minutes. The game is at the Garden. It's going to be a big St. John's fan base, like I said, and Patino's tough to beat in March. Look, if Seton Hall brings their A game, they got to bring their A game. They got to be physical. They got to fight for 50-50 ball. This is going to be a rock fight. It's going to be a rock fight, but you know what you're getting out of St. John's. You just got to hope you get what you think you're going to get out of Seton Hall.
right, exactly. Moving on, this is probably one of the best games of the day. Two of the best teams in the country. We've got Iowa State and Arizona. I know you got at least a thought or two on this game. Iowa State, they won 2 days in a row, right? This will be their third game in the third day. They beat ASU 91-42. That was a shellacking. By the way, Bobby Hurley got fired, after that loss. Then they beat Texas Tech 75-53, so they haven't had no trouble with those two games. They play Arizona, who has not played. No, I'm sorry. Arizona did play yesterday. They beat UCF 81-59. And if you remember, these two teams, they did play. Arizona beat them 73-59 back on March 2nd. And they were laying 6.5 in that game, and they covered very easily. But your thoughts on Iowa State, Arizona, Wiz?
Well, when Iowa State lost to Arizona, they went through that sort of 3-4 game slump. Nothing was working. That happens with most teams during the season.
Yeah,
they hit
right.
a bump in the road. Now Iowa State is playing better ball. They're getting, I think about 4 points or 4.5, something like that. Today against Arizona. Look, Iowa State could play with them. Iowa State could beat them, but they got to bring their A++ game. Iowa State. I mean, Arizona is, when they play, they're very good. They're very good. So it's not like Iowa State can't cover and beat this team, but they better come playing. This is no joke, the team they're playing in Arizona.
Yeah, they're catching 3.5 there against Arizona.
So it went down because when I saw the open on that game, it was about 4. I think it dropped 0.5 point. Look, I mean,
Cyclones are kicking some bets.
I could see handicappers liking both sides of the coin here. I can see the sharp guys like in Arizona. I could see sharp guys like in Iowa State. If I was a handicapper, unless I had a real reason to pick Arizona, I don't know if I'd put up that as a play. But, you can make a case. You could make a case that Arizona is the better team and going to cover the spread. But it's a tricky game because Iowa State, on their best game, they could play with anybody. They got to shoot. They got to make their shots. They got to get back on defense. They're a damn good team on their best day.
Yeah, for sure. Moving on here. So Kansas and Houston, I do have a free play. I'm going to give out a free play right now on this game, and then you can analyze my analysis, Wiz, as we like to do on the show. So Kansas and Houston. So obviously Houston, they come off the big win over BYU yesterday. They had to struggle to get there, though. We talked earlier about this, the Houston game yesterday. They were down at halftime. They were able to pull out the win. And I get they've won 4 in a row. They had that 3-game losing streak. They lost to 3 top 25 teams, and they've won 4 straight since then. But they have not been covering, and they haven't been playing well, to be honest with you, Wiz. They did not cover versus Baylor. They did not cover versus Oklahoma State. They struggled a lot. In fact, they were down until 10 minutes left in the game against Oklahoma State. They did not cover versus BYU. Kansas has also been a little bit inconsistent as well. Obviously, they win very big games, especially at Fog Allen. But then they lose. They have duds, right? They lose to Cincinnati. They lose to Arizona State. So, and obviously, the Jayhawks beat the Cougars earlier this year. They beat them 69-56. We talked about that game. We talked about that game in depth, I think, on the show and off air. And but I think Kansas can hang tough here, man. It's just a gut feeling. Houston, they just have not looked good. And I think, it's a lot of points too. We're looking at 6 points. I think it dipped down to 5.5 yesterday, but it's sitting at 6. It's a lot of points for a Jayhawks team who can play well, who can win this game, quite frankly. In my opinion, Kansas, they cover numbers too. They're 20-12 against the spread on the year. And I think they get the cover here. Remember, I mean, they can go down to the last shot. They can lose this game. They still cover. So give me the points. I'm going to put them in my back pocket, taking Kansas plus the 6 here. What do you think?
Oh, I mean, there's no doubt if you're going to play the game, you take Kansas. Kansas is a bit fragile, just like Houston. But Houston is a tough team late in the game. And Kansas is fragile. They especially away from Fog Allen. I could never lay it with Houston, laying that point spread. So I kind of agree with you. I'm just not a. I don't like the way either team is playing. Their body of work, the last 2 months. I just don't like the body of work. This is a game I'm personally staying away from because I don't know what version of each team is going to show up today. So again, this is not a bet that the Wizard would make. And like I'm very careful about the wagers I make. I don't make a lot of them. Most of my action is looking to see if I have an edge going into the second half and middling games. If there's a big point spread middle, I've done that, and I've not done that with success. Like yesterday, I got 19 and a half with Florida State. Love that play. But then in the second half, I took Duke -10. So I had a 9.5 point buffer. So I made a profit on the bet. But the Duke did not middle the game. I didn't boot Duke won by what? 1 point.
Yeah.
So I lost that middle. And I haven't been doing well, but it's still a smart bet. It's still a great bet. When you have a 9 point middle, I'll take that all day long.
Absolutely.
But I haven't done well with them this meet. But again, you're going to get your ass kicked if you bet games that you really don't have a sound reason and an edge to play that team. So in the Houston, Kansas game, I don't like the body of work of both teams. I don't know which team will show up with their A or B plus game. I don't know. Arizona, same thing. Arizona, Iowa State. I don't know. There are some under the radar games that are better bets that we're not talking about, but these marquee games like the ones we just talked about, they're tough plays for me. I will sit on the sidelines watching those games.
Well, as far as those other edges that are out there and the other games that are very bettable and there is a lot of value, don't forget to go over to wizardsportspicks.com. That's where you're going to find all sorts of sharp handicapping action from myself, from many other handicappers over there. You can check the leaderboard too and see who is hot in college basketball, if that's what you want to bet today and this weekend. And it probably is, because that is what is very exciting right now. So anyway, I would like to ask you to like and subscribe to this video. It does help our analytics very much. So don't forget, we're going to have that March Madness handicapper special. We will have more details on that on Monday. Don't forget, too, it's Freaky Friday over at the website. You get every play $5 non-guaranteed or $10 guaranteed. You can go ahead and get some winners over there at wizardsportspicks.com, the #1 sports consultant in the industry. Wiz, we made it a half hour today. We got actually one game's already tipped. What do we got tipped? I think
George Washington, right? Who's winning that game?
We're already behind the 8 ball on our watching action, but we got Ohio State, Michigan in about 20 minutes. So I'm gonna go get the popcorn ready right now and go sit down and start watching some college basketball. Anything on the way out?
No, nothing. Just looking to see what edges we have going into the weekend. It's just this time of year. It's my favorite time of year. It's like horse racing, the prep races leading up to the Kentucky Derby. There's no better racing event than the Derby, and there's no better sporting event, in my opinion, than March Madness. It's just tremendous.
There you go. And there's no better sports betting website than wizardsportspicks.com. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. This has been another episode of the Wizards Crystal Ball. We will be back Monday. We do the show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and we will have a lot of content for you to discuss all the games over the weekend. Wiz, let's kick some ass this weekend.
Okay.
And, we'll be back on Monday to talk all about it. Peace out. Keep firing, everyone.